This podcast is recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who were our first teachers and storytellers. I extend my respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Habit Nerd podcast. I'm Dr. Bree Hearn, and if you're interested in habits, those tiny, powerful behaviours that shape who we are and what we achieve, you've absolutely landed in the right place. Join me each week as I interview a wide range of experts, dive into evidence-based strategies, and give you practical tools to help you build habits that stick and break the ones that hold you back. Hi there, Habit Nerds, and thanks for spending the time with me today. We're looking at something quick but hopefully impactful, and that is 5 habits that you need to quit in order to reach peak success. Now, sometimes high performance, whatever that means to you, isn't about adding things or doing more. It's actually about pruning or taking things away. In a busy world of more action, I find this a refreshing concept actually, and I hope that you do as well. We're diving into 5 habits you need to quit to reach peak success, and this is inspired by insights from Dr. Christian Poensgen, and he is a productivity and a personal development expert whose research-backed frameworks have helped leaders worldwide to level up their performance. These 5 habits show up again and again in his coaching with high performers, and they might be silently holding you back as well. As always, in this episode, I will add my own flavor with stories and examples from my life and my work with clients that I hope you can connect to as well. So let's get into it. Our first habit that you need to quit if you want to reach peak success is staying busy without progress. Dr. Poensgen warns that activity alone doesn't equal progress, and that so many of us fill our days with motion but not momentum. I've said it before, it can be so seductive to, imagine me giving air quotes, get things done, to cross things off. It is a false sense of accomplishment and it's a cheap dopamine hit, but it's one that we all recognize. Last week on Sunday, I had to research a podcast episode and I needed to draft the structure of an upcoming keynote that I needed to provide a client. I got to the end of the Sunday and I had been really busy. I'd made 2 meals for the week. I'd prepped a big salad for our lunches. I'd painted my nails. I'd replied to a pile of non-urgent emails and I'd updated a spreadsheet. I had been busy with busy work, but I hadn't made any progress on the 2 things that really mattered, that would have been productive. Because productivity is quite a simple concept. It's just doing things that matter. It's doing things of value. Now, don't get me wrong, the washing and the cooking still needs to be done. But on that Sunday, I went to bed really anxious about that looming podcast episode that wasn't done and that I hadn't created the structure for the keynote and that I now needed to find time to do that. I've heard it said that progress is hiding in the piece of work you're avoiding, and it is an uncomfortable truth. I also had a coaching client a little while back. Let's call her Sandra. Now, when we looked carefully and honestly at Sandra's calendar together in one of our coaching sessions, she was attending back-to-back meetings, and some of the meetings were just not critical for her to be there. She was also spending hours in her inbox, and she was accepting coffee dates with colleagues and dipping in and out of reports here and there, but never moving the strategic projects that she was responsible for forward. And her career actually depended on her performance on things like the strategic projects that she was avoiding. It's a familiar story. Sandra was extremely busy, but she wasn't making any traction. So a habit nerd quick fix for this first habit of staying busy without progress is to identify the one thing that will create the most impact today. It's a great idea to time box it on your calendar and then to protect that box of time at all costs. It suggested that we focus on tasks that drive meaningful results, not just noise. So habit nerds, our first habit to quit is staying busy without progress. The second one is overcommitting to please others. Saying yes when you mean no destroys your bandwidth. Dr. Poensgen calls out how commitment leads straight to burnout and priority dilution. This is true at work, but it's also true in relationships. I try and remember this. When I say yes to something, I am saying no to something else by design. The word dilution is an important one here. Having lots of projects, lots of competing priorities, means that you're diluting your performance in the big ones, the fundamental ones. Early in my academic career, I would automatically agree to take on extra work because I didn't want to disappoint my teammates. And if I'm honest, I want it to be seen as capable and easy to work with by my managers and my leaders. But before long, I was drowning in tasks that didn't move my work or my career forward. And of course, my own goals stagnated. So the habit nerd quick fix for this habit of overcommitting to please others, there's a couple. The first one is to take a beat before answering yes. Just a couple of seconds. If it's a written request, give it up to an hour. Sometimes that boundary is enough to ensure it is the right answer. It might be a yes, but if you gave it a bit of time, you might have realized that actually a yes is the wrong answer to give. Also, you could practice using the hell yes or no rule. This means if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. If it's not a strong yes, it means it's a no. It helps you protect the work that matters most. Now, I say this with a caveat because I acknowledge it is really quite difficult to just say no to your boss. So I've learned from Nia Eyal, who's the author of Hooked and Indistractable, to have an open conversation that might go something like this. Say your boss's name is John. Hi, John, I've received the request to start work on the brief for this new client. I already have these 4 projects on the go at the moment, and you can list what they are. And taking on a 5th will put pressure on me completing quality work on these 4. Would you like me to deprioritize one of the other 4 to make space for this brief? Or perhaps there's a way I can begin that in a fortnight when 2 of the other projects will be finalized. A conversation like this shows that you're mindful of your own capacity and still shows commitment. Also, it will give you vital practice in becoming someone who doesn't overcommit. Our third habit to try and stop if you want to reach peak success is neglecting your health. Dr. Poensgen reminds us what we actually already know, but sometimes we ignore it, that your body and mind are your greatest performance assets. Yet many high achievers still treat health as optional. I know a startup founder who used to sleep 5 hours a night. She would skip meals and she hadn't exercised in months. She believed she didn't have time and that her long work hours were a signal that she was being effective and productive. But in truth, when I was working with her, I observed that her decision-making was slow, that she lacked patience, and she was short with her team. And crucially for a startup founder, her creativity was really inhibited because her health was an afterthought or not a consideration at all. The Habit Nerd quick fix for this, and we talk about it a lot, is to remember that sleep, movement, and nutrition are actually force multipliers. That even aiming for deeper REM cycles, so just quality sleep of 7 hours, can noticeably improve your performance. Think about one element of your health that you might be neglecting, and just make a really small micro shift towards showing yourself some TLC. This habit, neglecting your health, quite simply is holding you back. The next habit that you need to quit to reach peak success is dwelling on past mistakes. Habit nerds, you can't steer your life by staring into the rearview mirror. Dr. Poensgen reminds us that failure is actually a teacher and not a life sentence. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit unusual right now, and I'm going to play you a clip from the show on Disney Plus, which is called The Kardashians. Now, it is a reality TV show about the Kardashian family. And in this clip, Kim Kardashian is sitting in front of her computer and waiting for the results of the bar exam, which is in California, the entrance exam to be able to study law and practice as a lawyer eventually. People who are fans of the show or who follow along with this story might know that Kim has been on this lawyer journey for the last 6 years. Now, people who listen to this podcast might be surprised that I would be referencing the Kardashians, but my friends and those people who do know me won't be at all surprised. Select reality TV, like the Kardashians, is a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. And as a side note, I temptation bundle it with doing things like folding washing. So that basically means I use watching shows like this as a reward to make something unpleasant, like folding washing, more pleasant. So as I say, in this clip, Kim is sitting in front of her laptop and she's about to log in to find out the results of her exam. Now, she's sitting with her mum and one of her sisters, Chloe, and one of her sons. I'll play you the clip. So I want you to listen to the news and the way that they react to the news and what they say in response. And then after I play the clip, I'm going to talk about it.
How do you know? How do you know? It says fail. No. It's okay. I figured that. No. Why? Oh. Why'd you figure that? I just didn't feel good about my essays, so I'm gonna see. But it's okay. That's so crazy. It would have been amazing. You worked so hard. Damn. It's my essays. I knew it. Oh, honey. Oh, Kim. When you look at the edges. It sucks because you work so hard. It sucks. It's like, I really want. This was your first.
Okay, so what you heard there was Kim failed. What she was able to look at in the fail, though, was a breakdown of the scores in the exam, and she didn't feel good in the exam about the essay component, and then it turns out that she found out that it was the essays that let her score down and ended up being a fail in the end. So what I wanted to reference there was that she was very honest. She said, damn, I really, really wanted that. And her mum was saying things like, you work so hard. And so basically, it's a really interesting reflection because, first of all the clips that they could have chosen to put on that show, I really admire that they put on something that was a failure. It would have been really easy for Kim to sit the bar exam again in another year's time and pass it, and none of us would be any the wiser. But by putting that on there, it is a really interesting cultural moment to reflect on things going wrong and how we can take the lesson from it and move forward. So in that instance, Kim has said, oh, it was my essays. So she's taking the lesson and she knows that next time she sits that exam, that will be the area that needs more of her time and her attention. After that episode aired, she did post something on her Instagram, and she has, hundreds of millions of followers. And you might also know that she plays a lawyer in, it's another TV show. It's All's Fair. It's called All's Fair on Disney. So she's written this, well, I'm not a lawyer yet. I just play a very well-dressed one on TV. 6 years into this law journey, and I'm still all in until I pass the bar. No shortcuts, no giving up, just more studying and even more determination. Thank you to everyone who supported me and encouraged me along this way so far. Falling short isn't failure, it's fuel. I was so close to passing the exam, and that only motivates me even more. Let's go. So, what I want to say about this is that dwelling on our past mistakes really is unproductive. I'm really fascinated by this concept, and I think most probably because it's an area of challenge for me. I'm getting a little bit better, but I am hard on myself when I make a mistake. Coaching that I've received in the past has been around showing myself some compassion and giving myself some self-kindness. I have another example. I have a friend, let's call him Max, who years ago failed a major exam as part of his employment. Now, instead of trying again, which he did have the right to do after a few months had passed to access the next level of his job, or pursuing an alternative path, Max was still stuck replaying that moment. He was regretful, he felt anger, and he made excuses for his failure. And it really did come to define him for a few years. I know myself, I made an unintentional mistake 3 years ago, and it's taken me a long time and a lot of mental work to try and move forward. It is an uncomfortable truth that dwelling on it has kept me stuck and has paralyzed me with fear. So that has held me back in grabbing some new opportunities. So I'm acknowledging, habit nerds, that this is not easy. But I take the advice here that dwelling on past mistakes and staying stuck is a habit that is not helping us. So you might take this habit nerd quick fix too. Try and extract the lesson and then release the emotion. So you've made a mistake or something hasn't gone your way, learn from it, and then try and accept that it's not the outcome that you wanted, but let the emotion go. Try and build a growth mindset. And that means that growth takes time, that we can make mistakes, and that's part of the process. Fail by all means. We all make mistakes and we will continue to do so, but try and fail fast. And my fifth and final habit that we would like to get rid of, to overcome, to stop or quit, to reach peak success or high performance, whatever that means for you, is ignoring time for reflection. High performers reflect, low performers react. Skipping reflection prevents course correction and it blinds us to what's truly working. Dr. Poensgen says that regular self-review should not be optional. I had a coaching client that came to a session one day upset because she'd missed another quarterly target. But the pattern we established was she never paused to analyze what the root cause was. She came to the session angry and disappointed, but then immediately she started discussing moving into the next task cycle. Without reflection, this client was repeating the same patterns quarter after quarter. So I challenged her with this question. What did you and your team not do to meet the target? What started as frustration and defensiveness slowly morphed into acceptance and then a sense of curiosity. After some more workshopping, in our next session, I asked her, what are a few ways to give yourself and your team a better shot at meeting the target in this next cycle of work? And she was able to come up with 5 or 6 solutions to what she now understood were the reasons that she wasn't able to meet the target and wasn't able to lead her team to do so. A habit nerd fix here could be to try a weekly CEO hour. I try and do this once a fortnight, and truthfully, it's not an hour. It's only about 30 minutes. I've also seen it in Amantha Wise's book Time Wise called The Look Back to Look Forward. Sometimes it can look like sitting down with my calendar and looking back over the past 10 working days. Sometimes it's free writing in my journal. Sometimes I take a CEO walk where I head out without headphones and set and set the thinking goal as what went well and where do I want my attention and intention to go in the coming 5 to 10 days. Reflection is the time to review your goals, to identify what's standing in your way, and also to celebrate wins. This process helps us realign. And Dr. Poensgen encourages making reflection a routine part of progress. So that's it, habit nerds. The 5 habits you need to quit to reach peak success. The first one is staying busy without progress. The second one is overcommitting to please others. Number 3, neglecting your own health. Number 4, dwelling on and staying stuck in past mistakes. And the final one is ignoring time for self-reflection. I hope that those 5 are helpful and actionable tips for you. And if you do embed any of them into your practice, I'd love to hear about it over at The Habit Nerd on Instagram. Until we speak next time, take care. Thanks for being here for another episode of the Habit Nerd podcast. I am so grateful for your time. If you enjoyed it or gained a fresh perspective, please share it with a friend, or maybe you feel like giving it a 5-star review, which will take you less than 30 seconds. I do love all of my habit nerds, and I see you showing up every day as your wonderful selves. So until next time, take care.